The Gladiator-class Star Destroyer, though often overshadowed by the colossal Imperial-class Star Destroyers, embodied a different, more calculated approach to the art of warfare. It was a vessel conceived with purpose and precision, embodying the Empire's philosophy of control, strategy, and annihilation. Compact in comparison to the titanic warships that dominated the Imperial fleet, the Gladiator was an embodiment of agility, versatility, and focused destruction. Despite its more modest size, it was an unparalleled tool of control, operating with a combination of speed, precision, and overwhelming firepower that allowed it to excel in the most chaotic and dangerous of galactic engagements. It was not just a weapon of war. It was an instrument of fear and order, a harbinger of the Empire's implacable rule. The Gladiator-class Star Destroyer's primary armament was a series of 12 light dual turbolaser turrets, positioned with meticulous care across the vessel's superstructure. Unlike the massive batteries found on larger Star Destroyers, these turbolasers were designed with an emphasis on precision over sheer power. Each dual-barrel turret fired rapid, alternating bursts of energy that struck a balance between speed and destructive potential. The Gladiator's turbolasers were engineered not to overpower targets with one single devastating blow, but to apply sustained pressure on enemy forces, slowly dismantling their defenses with relentless, calculated fire. These turbolasers excelled in mid-range engagements, where they could outmaneuver larger, slower ships. Against smaller, more agile targets such as enemy corvettes or starfighters, the turbolasers created an unrelenting barrage of energy, overwhelming shields and forcing the target into positions of disadvantage. For larger vessels, the turbolasers' precision and rapid-fire capabilities would wear down shields over time, allowing the Gladiator to gradually weaken the enemy's defenses until a finishing blow could be delivered, either by the turbolasers themselves or by other systems within the ship's arsenal. The placement of the turbolasers was strategic, ensuring that there were no blind spots in the Gladiator's defenses. Each weapon had a distinct role, providing cover for other turrets, maintaining suppression fire on enemies, or allowing the ship to dominate specific areas of the battlefield. This careful balance allowed the Gladiator to outmaneuver its opponents, ensuring that even if a larger enemy ship attempted to escape or retaliate, it would be met with a continuous barrage of fire. While the turbolasers gave the Gladiator its offensive punch, its 10-point defense medium laser cannon turrets were the unsung heroes of the ship's protection, serving as its shield against the chaotic onslaught of smaller, faster enemies. These point defense lasers created an invisible barrier, a network of rapid-firing pulses that could intercept incoming starfighters, missiles, and any other threats that ventured too close to the ship. The medium laser cannon turrets were capable of extraordinary precision, able to track and neutralize even the most agile starfighters with a single pulse. The sheer speed at which these turrets could respond to threats meant that the Gladiator was not vulnerable to the typical tactics employed by enemy fighters. Where larger ships might be slow to react to incoming missile barrages or starfighters attempting to get into a firing position, the Gladiator's defense systems would ensure that enemy forces never had a moment of respite. The system was a marvel of engineering, with each point defense turret operating in conjunction with the others to create overlapping fields of fire. This meant that even if one turret failed to neutralize a threat, another would automatically pick up the target, ensuring no gaps in the Gladiator's defense. The point defense turrets were designed not just to destroy, but to create an impenetrable bubble of protection around the vessel, allowing it to remain in combat longer and with less threat from enemy swarms. The Gladiator-class Star Destroyer was equipped with 10 warhead launchers capable of deploying either proton torpedoes or assault concussion missiles, each of which served a different tactical purpose. The proton torpedoes were the ship's weapon of surgical precision, capable of bypassing even the most robust shields and delivering devastating blows to enemy systems. These torpedoes were invaluable for targeting critical infrastructure, command centers, or even vital subsystems of larger enemy ships. The advanced guidance systems integrated into each proton torpedo allowed the Gladiator to strike at the heart of an enemy's defense, crippling them with pinpoint accuracy. While the proton torpedoes embodied precision, the assault concussion missiles brought destruction on a far broader scale. These missiles did not seek to penetrate shields with finesse. They aimed to obliterate everything in their path with raw, explosive power. When launched, The concussion missiles released shockwaves that could tear apart enemy formations, rip through hulls, and scatter debris across vast stretches of space. They were terror weapons, their explosive yield sufficient to create massive damage in a single volley, and they were designed to destabilize and demoralize enemy fleets, leaving them scrambling to recover from the chaos. The Gladiator's warhead launchers, capable of delivering proton torpedoes or concussion missiles with deadly efficiency, ensured that the ship could adapt to a wide range of combat scenarios. Whether it was executing precision strikes against a heavily fortified enemy installation or unleashing a barrage of missiles to create widespread destruction, the warhead launchers offered a deadly versatility that made the Gladiator an unpredictable and terrifying foe on the battlefield. The 300 medium concussion missiles stored within the Gladiator-class Star Destroyer's holds were not simply a supply of ammunition. They were a testament to the ship's endurance and ability to outlast and outfight any opponent. With this vast arsenal, the Gladiator could engage in extended bombardments, saturating enemy fleets with waves upon waves of missiles. These missiles allowed the Gladiator to maintain constant pressure on its enemies, wearing down their defenses over time. Whether used for direct bombardment or to break apart formations, these missiles ensured the Gladiator could remain an unyielding presence on the battlefield. The sheer number of medium concussion missiles at the Gladiator's disposal made it a continuous threat. Even after delivering several barrages, it could keep up the pressure until the enemy's shields failed and their hulls began to buckle. The Gladiator was a ship that did not tire, continuously sending waves of missiles to keep its adversaries on the defensive and forcing them into a position of surrender or destruction. The Gladiator's 8 medium tractor beam projectors were the embodiment of the Empire's obsessive control over the galaxy. These invisible tendrils of power could immobilize enemy ships, preventing them from escaping or maneuvering effectively. The tractor beams allowed the Gladiator to dictate the flow of battle by either isolating vulnerable targets or pulling enemy ships into the kill zone of its turbo lasers and missile launchers. The tractor beams were particularly effective against smaller vessels attempting to flee from the fight. A single well-placed beam could prevent an enemy ship from escaping, dragging it back into the Gladiator's range, where its weapon systems would deliver the final blow. But they were not merely tools of destruction. They were instruments of control, allowing the Gladiator to shape the battlefield to the Empire's advantage. In the hands of a skilled commander, the tractor beams were powerful tools for tactical manipulation, capable of disrupting the flow of an engagement and isolating critical targets for destruction. The Gladiator-class Star Destroyer was more than just a vessel of war. It was a masterwork of Imperial strategy. Every weapon mounted upon its frame was part of a grand design, a symphony of destruction and control that allowed the Gladiator to dominate any battlefield it entered. Its turbo lasers, point defense systems, and warhead launchers all played a part in ensuring its supremacy, while its tractor beams allowed it to control the movement and fate of its enemies. As a vessel of war, the Gladiator did not simply engage in combat, it orchestrated it. It bent the chaos of battle to its will, leaving no room for uncertainty or failure. In the hands of a capable commander, the Gladiator was a force of nature, an embodiment of the Empire's relentless will to impose order upon the galaxy. It was not just a destroyer, it was the hand of the Emperor, extending his reach across the stars and ensuring that the galaxy's fate would always bend toward Imperial control. To face a Gladiator-class Star Destroyer was to face inevitable defeat, a confrontation with a symbol of Imperial might and precision. It was a reminder that the Empire's rule could never be undone, no matter the size of the enemy or the distance across the galaxy. Resistance was not a defiance of fate, it was a futile struggle against the inexorable march of order imposed by the Emperor's hand. The Gladiator-class Star Destroyer was a masterpiece of engineering, embodying the Empire's vision of power, precision, and relentless ambition. Its engines and power plant were not mere technological components, but the very essence of its design, transforming the infinite void of space into its dominion. This ship was built to command the stars, to pursue, conquer, and destroy with an efficiency that left no room for failure. At its heart, the Gladiator class was a symbol of the Empire's determination to impose order on chaos, and its propulsion and energy systems reflected this ideology in every pulse and flare. At the core of the Gladiator-class Star Destroyer was its solar ionization reactor, a marvel of modern engineering and the heart that drove the ship's every function. This reactor was not just a machine. It was a miniature star contained within the ship's hull, its searing plasma burning with a fury that seemed almost alive. The reactor harnessed the raw energy of fusion, converting it into a source of power so immense that it fueled not only the ship's weapons and defenses, but also its propulsion, life support systems, and auxiliary subsystems. What set the solar ionization reactor apart was its unparalleled efficiency and adaptability. The energy it produced could be channeled seamlessly into different systems as the situation demanded. In the heat of battle, it could divert additional power to the turbolasers and warhead launchers, ensuring overwhelming firepower. When under threat, it reinforced the shields, creating a nigh impenetrable barrier against enemy attacks. In moments of pursuit or retreat, it funneled its energy into the engines, allowing the Gladiator to maneuver with startling speed and grace. The reactor itself was a testament to balance and control. While its energy output was immense, it operated with precision, ensuring no waste and no excess. This harmony between raw power and fine-tuned control encapsulated the Gladiator's philosophy: dominance through calculated and deliberate force. It was not enough to possess overwhelming power. That power had to be wielded with purpose, making the ship not only a tool of destruction, but also an instrument of strategy. The Gladiator-class Star Destroyer's propulsion system was an equally remarkable aspect of its design, comprising two main engine units that dominated the aft section of the ship. Sleek and angular, these engines were a departure from the massive, cumbersome drives of larger Star Destroyers. They represented a focus on maneuverability and agility, allowing the Gladiator to operate in environments and combat scenarios where larger vessels would struggle. These engines worked in perfect tandem, channeling the solar ionization reactor's immense energy into thrust with near-perfect efficiency. Unlike the brute force engines of the Imperial-class Star Destroyers, the Gladiator's propulsion system was engineered for fluidity and precision. It could accelerate rapidly, change direction with startling speed, and execute complex maneuvers that made it a deadly predator in the chaos of battle. This agility allowed the Gladiator to outflank enemy vessels, pursue fleeing targets, and evade incoming fire, all while maintaining its role as a powerhouse of destruction. The Gladiator's engines were not only powerful, but also reliable, capable of sustaining the ship through prolonged engagements or extended journeys. They were built with the same philosophy as the rest of the vessel: to dominate through consistency and unyielding performance. Each burst of ionized plasma from the engines was a statement of intent, propelling the ship forward with an inevitability that left no doubt about its purpose. The Gladiator-class Star Destroyer's hyperdrive system was a triumph of Imperial engineering, transforming the ship into a force capable of striking terror across the galaxy. Its primary Class 1 hyperdrive was a technological marvel, allowing the Gladiator to traverse vast interstellar distances with breathtaking speed. This hyperdrive was more than a means of travel. It was a weapon in its own right, enabling the ship to arrive at its target with unmatched swiftness. Whether deployed to suppress a rebellion, intercept a fleeing fleet, or ambush an enemy stronghold, the Gladiator's hyperdrive ensured it could strike before its adversaries could react. The hyperdrive was supported by a Class 8 secondary system, a backup designed to ensure the ship's operational reliability under any circumstances. This redundant system provided a safety net, guaranteeing that the Gladiator would never be stranded, even in the face of catastrophic damage to its primary drive. The secondary hyperdrive was a testament to the Empire's meticulous attention to detail and its refusal to tolerate vulnerabilities in its war machines. Together, the primary and secondary hyperdrives gave the Gladiator an edge in mobility that few ships could match, making it a constant and unpredictable threat to those who oppose the Empire. The integration of the solar ionization reactor, main engines, and hyperdrive system created a harmonious whole that elevated the Gladiator-class Star Destroyer beyond the sum of its parts. The reactor's boundless energy flowed seamlessly into the engines, translating raw power into smooth and controlled motion. The hyperdrive system extended the ship's reach across the galaxy, ensuring that no target was beyond its grasp. This synergy of systems allowed the Gladiator to operate with a precision and adaptability that made it a master of both pursuit and evasion, capable of dominating battles and disappearing into the void with equal ease. The Gladiator's propulsion and energy systems also highlighted its duality as both a predator and an enforcer. Its engines allowed it to stalk and strike with deadly efficiency, while its hyperdrive ensured it could project the Empire's power to the furthest corners of the galaxy. This balance of speed, power, and reliability made the Gladiator not only a ship of war, but also a symbol of the Empire's reach and its unrelenting pursuit of order. To see the Gladiator-class Star Destroyer in motion was to witness the Empire's mastery over the forces of nature. Its engines burned with the brilliance of a star, its reactor pulsed with the energy of creation itself, and its hyperdrive shattered the boundaries of space and time. This ship did not merely traverse the void, it commanded it, carving paths of light and fire through the darkness. The Gladiator class was more than a tool of destruction. It was the embodiment of the Empire's unyielding resolve to bring order to the galaxy. Its propulsion systems allowed it to strike terror into its enemies, to pursue them to the ends of the galaxy, and to emerge victorious in the most challenging of engagements. It was a force of nature, a predator among the stars, and a testament to the Empire's relentless ambition. To face a Gladiator in the vast expanse of space was to confront the inevitability of Imperial dominance, a reminder that the galaxy belonged not to those who sought freedom, but to those who wielded the power to control it. The Gladiator-class Star Destroyer was a vessel that captured the Empire's ethos in its very design, balancing menace with refinement, functionality with symbolism. At 600 meters in length, it stood as a medium-weight warship, bridging the gap between the imposing might of the Imperial-class Star Destroyer and the smaller support craft of the Imperial fleet. Its angular form and aggressive profile made it an unmistakable figure on the battlefield, a harbinger of the Empire's relentless pursuit of order. To witness a Gladiator class emerge from hyperspace was to experience the profound sense of inevitability it carried, its wedge-like silhouette slicing through the void, a blade of judgment poised to enforce Imperial will. Every detail of the Gladiator's structure was imbued with purpose, making it not only a machine of war, but also a statement of the Empire's mastery over chaos. The Gladiator's hull was a masterpiece of military engineering, crafted from layers of reinforced durasteel and enhanced with thermal-resistant alloys. Its plating gleamed cold and unyielding, reflecting starlight as a visual metaphor for the Empire's uncompromising belief in strength and durability. This armor was not only a physical barrier against enemy fire, but also a psychological one, a glinting promise of the futility of resistance. Beneath the protective plating lay a labyrinthine network of conduits, subsystems, and redundancies, ensuring that even under direct assault, the Gladiator would continue to fulfill its purpose. The armor's design was more than brute durability. It represented calculated defense. Critical systems were buried deep within the ship, shielded by multiple layers of protection. The sloped surfaces of the hull not only enhanced its iconic profile, but also provided practical benefits, deflecting energy weapons and projectiles with increased efficiency. In battle, the Gladiator's hull stood as a testament to the Empire's belief in the unyielding nature of order. Unyielding, adaptable, and ever-present. The Gladiator's sensor arrays and command systems were state-of-the-art, granting it unparalleled situational awareness and operational precision. Its long-range sensor suites extended the ship's reach far beyond its physical dimensions, making it as much a sentinel as a warship. Capable of detecting distant threats, tracking starfighter movements, and mapping anomalies, these sensors provided the data necessary to execute decisive strikes or evasive maneuvers. At the heart of this capability was the Navy computer, a high-precision system that allowed the Gladiator to navigate complex galactic lanes with speed and accuracy. Combined with its tactical systems, the Navy computer ensured that the ship could respond to unfolding events in real time, maintaining the initiative in any engagement. From the cold depths of space to crowded planetary orbits, the Gladiator's sensor and command systems transformed it into a vessel of unmatched awareness and decisiveness. Perhaps the most defining feature of the Gladiator-class Star Destroyer was its forward-facing hangar bay, a cavernous opening that split its bow into two distinct halves. This design was as functional as it was symbolic, representing the ship's role as a carrier and combat platform. The hangar bay was a hub of activity, housing squadrons of TIE fighters, bombers, and support craft that were essential to its versatility and dominance in combat. The placement of the hangar was deliberate, projecting the image of a predator perpetually ready to strike. From within this open maw, starfighters poured forth in coordinated waves, overwhelming enemy fleets or establishing defensive perimeters. The hangar's internal layout was engineered for efficiency, allowing simultaneous launches and recoveries, ensuring that the Gladiator could maintain a constant flow of reinforcements and firepower during protracted engagements. The Gladiator's forward superstructure, split by the hangar, gave the ship a unique and striking appearance. The two symmetrical structures that flanked the hangar were more than aesthetic. They housed critical systems, from communication arrays to defensive turrets. Their elevated placement ensured a commanding view of the battlefield, enhancing the ship's coordination and situational control. This distinctive silhouette was a deliberate choice, embodying balance and symmetry as a representation of Imperial order. The twin structures symbolized the ship's dual role as both a tactical weapon and a philosophical statement. Unlike larger Star Destroyers that relied on sheer mass and firepower to inspire fear, the Gladiator's design relied on precision, adaptability, and efficiency to deliver its message. Resistance was futile, and the Empire's reach was infinite. The Gladiator-class Star Destroyer was conceived as a ship of versatility, capable of excelling in a variety of roles. Its hangar allowed it to deploy starfighters in rapid succession, making it an effective fleet carrier. Its compact size and maneuverability gave it an edge in close-quarters engagements, where larger vessels struggled. Meanwhile, its reinforced hull and sensor systems enabled it to operate as a command ship, coordinating the actions of smaller fleets or ground operations. Unlike the Imperial-class Star Destroyers, whose size and firepower made them instruments of overwhelming force, the Gladiator's more moderate dimensions allowed it to infiltrate contested systems, engage smaller rebellions, and provide support in ways its larger siblings could not. It was, in many ways, the Empire's scalpel, a tool for precise and effective domination in regions where subtler force was required. The Gladiator's design carried a deeper meaning, reflecting the Empire's philosophy of control and order. Its form was not just a product of engineering, it was a declaration. Unlike larger ships that sought to dominate through sheer presence, the Gladiator's more modest size and calculated design allowed it to slip into the cracks of galactic power struggles, reaching into places no Imperial-class Star Destroyer could. Its adaptability and precision were a reminder that the Empire's influence extended into every corner of the galaxy, ensuring that no system, no rebellion, and no hope of resistance could escape its notice. The Gladiator-class Star Destroyer was more than a ship. It was a vision of the Empire's ideal, a perfect fusion of power, purpose, and philosophy. Every angle of its hull, every gleaming plate of armor, and every system it carried was imbued with intent. It was a vessel that fought not just battles but wars of the mind, leaving its enemies demoralized long before the first shot was fired. To see a Gladiator-class Star Destroyer in action was to witness the Empire's belief in absolute control. It did not merely participate in conflicts, it defined them, reshaping the galaxy with every hyperspace jump, every precision strike, and every mission it undertook. In its design, the Gladiator class embodied the Empire's unrelenting march toward a galaxy where chaos had no place and resistance had no chance. It was not just a machine, it was a message, one of inevitability, precision, and absolute power. The Gladiator-class Star Destroyer was not simply a colossal machine of war. It was a living embodiment of the Empire's efficiency, discipline, and unwavering dedication to order. Its crew of 1,255 officers, pilots, and enlisted personnel formed the ship's soul, a cohesive and precisely coordinated team whose lives were devoted to ensuring the relentless operation of the vessel. It was their hands that turned the Gladiator from a cold, mechanical giant into a symbol of Imperial authority, with each individual playing an indispensable role in its unyielding dominance across the galaxy. At the helm of the Gladiator-class Star Destroyer were its officers, the elite leaders, who commanded both the ship's operational functions and its military endeavors. These individuals were not just strategists. They were the embodiment of the Empire's will, their decisions a direct reflection of Imperial ideals. Cold, calculating, and resolute, the officers ensured the Gladiator maintained its role as a weapon of overwhelming power, directing tactics and strategy in the heat of battle with precision. From the command bridge to the war rooms, the officers controlled every facet of the Gladiator's operations, from fleet maneuvers to the deployment of its ground forces. They were the architects of war, shaping every engagement with the calculated intelligence that defined the Imperial hierarchy. Each decision was made with ruthless efficiency, guiding the Star Destroyer through both the chaos of battle and the cold strategy of galactic conquest. The officer's leadership was not just a command, it was a symbol of the Empire's unrelenting desire for order and absolute control. Aboard the Gladiator-class Star Destroyer, the pilots represented the sharpest, most dynamic aspect of the vessel. These elite individuals were the first to engage the enemy, their expertise in piloting the agile TIE fighters the key to establishing air superiority. Pilots aboard the Gladiator were warriors in their own right, trained to the highest standards, with every instinct honed for swift, decisive action. To be a pilot aboard the Gladiator was to embody the very essence of the Empire's ruthless approach to warfare. Each maneuver was executed with deadly precision, each strike aimed at achieving the ultimate victory in the name of Imperial dominance. The pilots operated as a seamless unit, a reflection of the Empire's core belief in collective power, working together to overwhelm enemies and secure total control of the battle space. Their missions ranged from engaging enemy starfighters to providing crucial support for planetary ground operations, and their lightning reflexes ensured that every movement in the heat of combat was executed flawlessly. In the face of danger, these pilots exhibited unwavering bravery, willing to sacrifice their lives for the greater cause. Their hands gripped the controls of the TIE fighters with the knowledge that their actions could shift the tide of battle, and their training ensured that they responded to any threat with unyielding resolve. While the officers and pilots were the public face of the Gladiator's war efforts, the enlisted crew was the quiet but indispensable backbone of the ship. These men and women, from engineers to communications officers, formed the vast majority of the Gladiator's crew, ensuring that the ship's systems functioned with precision and reliability. It was their tireless efforts that allowed the officers to lead and the pilots to fight, each role interwoven into the larger framework of the ship's operations. The enlisted crew moved through the ship's many decks and corridors, keeping the reactors running, the weapons systems fully operational, and the communications channels clear. The engineers worked in the heart of the ship's mechanics, ensuring that the power systems remained efficient, while the technicians kept the weapons and shield systems calibrated to perfection. Without their constant vigilance and unceasing work, the Gladiator would not have been able to function at its maximum potential. These crew members may have operated behind the scenes, but their contributions were just as critical as those of the officers or pilots. They were the ones who kept the Gladiator's vast systems running smoothly, ensuring that the ship could continue its operations and remain a formidable force in the galaxy. The strength of the Gladiator-class Star Destroyer lay not only in its technological marvels or its imposing weaponry, but in the unity of its crew. Each member, regardless of their rank or role, understood their duty and performed it with absolute loyalty to the Empire. The officers led with cold efficiency, the pilots soared through the void with precision and courage, and the enlisted crew labored tirelessly to maintain the ship's heart and soul. Together, they formed a unified force, ensuring the Gladiator's continued supremacy and its unrelenting pursuit of Imperial dominance. Their relationship with the ship was one of mutual dependence. Each crew member was an extension of the Gladiator itself. The ship was more than a vessel. It was a living extension of the Empire's power, and the crew served as its lifeblood. The officers commanded, the pilots executed, and the enlisted crew ensured the flawless operation of the vessel. In return, the Gladiator-class Star Destroyer became their purpose, their legacy, and their means to secure the future of the Empire. In the heat of battle, the crew became more than just personnel. They became the living, breathing heart of the Gladiator-class Star Destroyer. It was in these moments of combat that the crew's unity and discipline were most evident. The officers guided the ship through the maelstrom of war, making tactical decisions that would define the course of the battle. The pilots flew their TIE fighters with unyielding precision, engaging enemies with swiftness and deadly force. And the enlisted crew worked seamlessly behind the scenes, ensuring the ship remained operational in the face of any challenge. Together, the crew transformed the Gladiator into something greater than just a warship. It became a symbol of Imperial might, with its crew serving as the foundation that upheld the ship's purpose. Each individual played a crucial part in the Gladiator's success, ensuring that its legacy of power, control, and dominance would continue, both in the stars and on the planets below. To encounter the Gladiator-class Star Destroyer was to witness the embodiment of Imperial might and resolve, a vessel whose strength lay not only in its formidable systems, but in the unbreakable spirit of its crew. They were the soul of the ship, the living manifestation of the Empire's will, and together, they ensured that no enemy could stand against the relentless might of the Gladiator. The Gladiator-class Star Destroyer was far more than a starship. It was a self-contained fortress of Imperial dominance, designed to project power across the galaxy with ruthless efficiency. Its complement was a finely tuned ensemble of starfighters, ground vehicles, and logistical craft, each selected not only for their combat prowess, but for their ability to execute the Empire's doctrine of control. Together, these assets transformed the Gladiator into a versatile force capable of commanding space, subjugating planets, and responding to any tactical challenge. At the core of the Gladiator's complement were its 2 squadrons of starfighters, comprising 24 craft that brought speed, precision, and ferocity to every engagement. These starfighters were the ship's first line of offense and defense, serving as both shields against enemy threats and spears for devastating counterattacks. The TIE fighters, iconic symbols of Imperial might, dominated these squadrons with their unmatched maneuverability and disciplined formations. Emerging from the Gladiator's imposing forward hangar, these nimble craft swarmed into battle with deadly coordination. They moved not as individuals, but as a singular, relentless force, embodying the Empire's ethos of unity and control. Whether hunting enemy starfighters, escorting shuttles, or harassing capital ships, the TIE squadrons were a manifestation of Imperial strategy, swift, precise, and unyielding. The presence of these starfighters extended beyond their tactical utility. They were a psychological weapon. To see their swarming formation and hear the ominous whine of their engines was to feel the inevitability of Imperial domination. In every battle, they served as a reminder that the Gladiator's reach extended far beyond its physical hull, ensuring that no foe could find refuge in the void. While starfighters claimed supremacy in space, the Gladiator's ground forces were equally formidable, providing the means to dominate planetary surfaces with devastating effectiveness. Central to this effort were its 5 ATST walkers, 2-legged war machines engineered for versatility and fear. These mechanical enforcers were perfectly suited for patrolling urban areas, traversing rugged landscapes, and decimating entrenched opposition with their blaster cannons and grenade launchers. ATSTs were not just tools of destruction, but symbols of Imperial inevitability. Their imposing frames and thudding steps sowed fear long before they opened fire. Deployed via landing craft, these walkers were the vanguard of ground assaults, their presence signaling the Empire's commitment to total control. Whether hunting insurgents in dense forests or securing key objectives in urban theaters, ATSTs were indispensable assets in the Gladiator's arsenal. Accompanying the walkers were stormtroopers, the Empire's most loyal soldiers, whose discipline and resolve turned the Gladiator into a mobile command hub for ground operations. These troops, equipped with advanced weaponry and unwavering loyalty, brought the Empire's iron fist to the galaxy's surface, ready to enforce order wherever they landed. To ensure seamless coordination between space and ground, the Gladiator class was equipped with an array of shuttles and landing craft, the logistical backbone of its operations. These versatile vessels enabled the ship to project power onto planets with precision and efficiency, ferrying troops, vehicles, and supplies to the surface. The Lambda-class shuttles, sleek and iconic, served as multi-role craft capable of transporting personnel or critical supplies to contested zones. Their reinforced hulls and deflector shields ensured safe passage through hostile fire, while their elegant design symbolized imperial sophistication and authority. More rugged and purpose-built were the landing craft, designed for rapid deployment in even the most hazardous conditions. These robust vessels were capable of carrying ATSTs, stormtroopers, and other essential assets directly into combat zones. Their reinforced design and swift deployment capabilities made them critical to the Gladiator's planetary operations, turning it into a force multiplier on any battlefield. The true strength of the Gladiator's complement lay not in individual components, but in the seamless integration of its assets. Its starfighters dominated the skies, ensuring air superiority and protecting the fleet. Its ground forces brought order to chaotic battlefields, subjugating planetary resistance with unrelenting precision. Its shuttles and landing craft bridged the gap between space and surface, enabling the ship to transition effortlessly between theaters of war. This synergy ensured that the Gladiator was not merely a warship, but a complete military force, capable of operating independently or as part of a larger fleet. Every piece of its complement was chosen and deployed with purpose, creating a harmonious balance of offense, defense, and logistical support. The Gladiator's complement was a microcosm of the Empire's overarching philosophy. Overwhelming power wielded with meticulous control. It was not about brute force alone, but about adaptability, efficiency, and precision. From the precision strikes of its TIE fighters to the crushing march of its ATSTs, every element worked together to project the Empire's will across the galaxy. To encounter the Gladiator-class Star Destroyer was to face not just a ship, but a complete doctrine of war. A cohesive force capable of adapting to and dominating any situation, whether in the vacuum of space or on the contested surface of a planet. The Gladiator's complement ensured that the Empire's authority was absolute, its reach unchallenged, and its victory inevitable. The Gladiator-class Star Destroyer was more than a warship. It was a vessel that carried with it the full weight of the Empire's reach and resolve. Among the crew and starfighters, the Star Destroyer also played host to 1,200 troops, organized into 2 battalions of stormtroopers, the vanguard of Imperial ground forces. These soldiers were not mere passengers. They were the Empire's most elite enforcers, trained to assert control over any planetary surface with ruthless efficiency. Their very presence aboard the Gladiator served as a constant reminder of the Empire's unyielding authority, stretching its reach from the stars down to the surface of every contested world. The stormtroopers, clad in their iconic white armor, were the epitome of Imperial discipline, ready to be deployed at a moment's notice to pacify rebellious worlds, crush resistance, or maintain the Emperor's law. With nearly 600 soldiers in each battalion, they were the true backbone of the Gladiator's ground force capabilities. More than simple foot soldiers, these stormtroopers were meticulously trained to carry out complex operations in hostile environments, capable of executing missions ranging from urban warfare to planetary sieges. These soldiers embodied the Empire's commitment to total control, their discipline honed by years of training, and their loyalty unquestionable. Their white armor symbolized their place as instruments of the Empire's will, stark, precise, and unyielding. Whether they were engaging in firefights on planetary surfaces or suppressing uprisings in the outer systems, the stormtroopers carried out their tasks with a deadly efficiency that left no room for failure. Their presence aboard the Gladiator was not by accident. It was a design meant to ensure that the Star Destroyer could assert dominance not just in the void of space, but on the surface of any world it encountered. When the Gladiator descended into a planet's atmosphere, it was not just a ship. It was the manifestation of the Empire's iron hand, ready to bring order to any region that dared defy the Emperor's rule. While the stormtroopers were the sharp edge of the Gladiator's ground forces, they were not alone in their mission. The passenger compartment also housed a variety of specialized personnel, each chosen to ensure the smooth functioning of ground operations. Among these were communications experts, medics, engineers, and tactical support teams, each playing a vital role in ensuring that the stormtroopers could operate at maximum efficiency. These personnel were the logistical backbone of the Gladiator's operations, providing the necessary support to maintain troop readiness and operational success. The engineers ensured that vehicles and weaponry were in peak condition, while medics were on hand to tend to the wounded. The communications teams maintained contact between the Gladiator and the forces it deployed, ensuring seamless coordination between ground operations and the command structure aboard the Star Destroyer. This combination of elite soldiers and specialized support personnel transformed the Gladiator into a mobile command center, capable of conducting sustained operations with precision. No matter where the Gladiator went, it was always prepared to maintain order and execute its directives with ruthless efficiency. The stormtroopers aboard the Gladiator-class Star Destroyer were not just soldiers. They were symbols of the Empire's might. Each battalion, with its highly trained and meticulously organized structure, embodied the Empire's philosophy of total control and unquestionable loyalty. Their presence was not just to fight. They were a reminder that the Empire's power extended to every corner of the galaxy, and no system, no matter how remote or rebellious, was beyond its reach. The sight of stormtroopers marching across a planet's surface, with the imposing shadow of the Gladiator looming overhead, was enough to instill fear and awe in equal measure. The overwhelming force of their presence, combined with the Star Destroyer's own might, made it clear that any defiance of the Empire would be met with swift, unforgiving retaliation. For the troops aboard the Gladiator, their mission was clear: to carry out the Emperor's will without hesitation or mercy. They were instruments of Imperial power, each one trained to execute any order, from suppressing civilian unrest to raiding enemy installations. Their white armor, their unwavering loyalty, and their cold efficiency were all part of the machine that ensured the Empire's dominance would never waver. The Gladiator-class Star Destroyer was not simply a vessel of war. It was a symbol of Imperial power and control. With its battalions of stormtroopers, support personnel, and vast fleet of starfighters, the Gladiator was a self-contained unit capable of maintaining control over both space and planetary surfaces. The presence of these troops aboard the ship ensured that wherever the Gladiator went, the Empire's might would follow, and no corner of the galaxy would remain free from its watchful eyes. For the stormtroopers aboard, it was more than just a duty. It was their purpose to bring order to the galaxy. And for the Gladiator-class Star Destroyer, these troops were the final, undeniable declaration that the Empire's will would reign supreme. The Gladiator-class Star Destroyer was conceived at the zenith of the Empire's ambition, a time when the Emperor's iron fist sought to stretch its control across every corner of the galaxy. The ship, a hybrid of firepower, tactical versatility, and ground operations capability, embodied the Empire's vision of omnipotence. Its development, a monumental fusion of innovative engineering, advanced design principles, and military doctrine, spanned the course of several years, involving not just brilliant minds, but vast manufacturing resources. The Gladiator class would go on to become a symbol of Imperial might, a vessel capable of asserting the Emperor's control across space and planetary surfaces alike. The Gladiator class was not born from a singular necessity, but rather the convergence of multiple factors in Imperial strategy. The Empire's vast territorial expansion demanded more versatile and agile warships that could operate in a variety of combat scenarios. It needed a ship that could dominate the vastness of space, while also being equipped to efficiently engage in ground warfare operations, performing roles that were often too specialized or costly for larger ships like the Imperial-class Star Destroyer. At the core of the Gladiator class's creation was Walex Blissex, an engineer whose talents had already earned him a reputation within the Galactic Republic as a pioneer in ship design. However, under the Empire's banner, Blissex was given full freedom to refine his ideas, moving away from conventional doctrines. Blissex recognized that an ideal warship for the Imperial Navy needed to combine firepower, tactical flexibility, and operational endurance across various mission profiles. The Gladiator class, he envisioned, would not only serve as a Star Destroyer, but also as a planetary enforcer, providing the Empire with unparalleled strategic options. Blissex envisioned a ship that would function as a fleet support vessel, command ship, and assault platform all at once. It needed to be capable of swift deployment to hostile worlds to establish Imperial control, yet powerful enough to ensure domination in battle. The turbolaser systems, ion cannon arrays, and hangar bays were meticulously balanced to provide offensive firepower without compromising the ship's maneuverability or its ability to deploy ground forces. The Gladiator class was born out of Blissex's early prototypes, some of which drew from the legacy of his Victory-class Star Destroyer. The design process took place in stages, beginning with Rendelli Star Drive, a company known for producing some of the most respected warships in the galaxy, including the Dreadnought-class heavy cruiser. Rendelli's early sketches of the Gladiator class captured the core principles of military effectiveness that BlissX sought to implement. At this early stage, the Gladiator class reflected a balance between offensive firepower, defensive shielding, and aerodynamic efficiency. The ship's framework focused on maximizing the ship's speed, which was necessary for quick deployment to battlefronts, yet large enough to accommodate a significant arsenal of weaponry and ground assault capabilities. The broadside turbo lasers, a staple of many Imperial warships, were complemented by ion cannon arrays, designed to disable enemy shields and ships at close range, rendering them vulnerable to follow-up attacks. TIE fighter hangars were placed at the rear, ensuring that they could rapidly deploy from the Gladiator's core, serving as a mobile airfield for Imperial starfighters. But the most ambitious aspect of the Gladiator's design was its ground force deployment capabilities. Unlike its predecessors, the Gladiator class featured massive bays capable of housing stormtrooper battalions, AT-AT walkers, and other specialized ground vehicles. The design incorporated easily accessible drop zones and docking areas for rapid deployment of ground forces upon arrival at a hostile planet. This was not just a ship, it was a mobile fortress capable of exerting Imperial control across all phases of war, both in space and on the surface of worlds. Despite the early successes of Rendelli Star Drive's initial design, the project required refinement to meet the growing needs of the Imperial Navy. The Empire's expansion into newer sectors meant more demands for new classes of ships that could adapt to fast-changing battle conditions. As such, Kuat Drive Yards, one of the most prominent starship manufacturers in the galaxy, was called upon to finalize the design and mass-produce the Gladiator class. Kuat Drive Yards had long been the leader in the production of some of the Empire's most iconic ships, including the Imperial-class Star Destroyer and Venator-class warships. But this was an entirely different project. The Gladiator class needed to be flexible, modular, and, above all, capable of being manufactured in large quantities to meet the Empire's demands. Under Kuat's supervision, the ship underwent extensive revisions. The original design of the Gladiator Y-class was refined to improve aerodynamics and combat efficiency. Kuat focused on upgrading the ship's propulsion systems, ensuring that the Gladiator could travel quickly from system to system while maintaining shield integrity and long-range firepower. The Gladiator II class, which emerged from Kuat's factories, was an evolution, marked by several major changes that made the vessel more formidable. The Gladiator II class incorporated enhanced shields, which were capable of withstanding heavier fire from larger capital ships and long-range bombardment. Reinforced hull plating was added to withstand direct hits, while the ion cannons and turbo lasers were redesigned for even more precise targeting at greater distances, allowing the Gladiator to strike enemy ships before they could get close enough to retaliate. Additionally, the ship's command and control systems were upgraded to allow for faster tactical decisions, and the bridge complex was fitted with the latest Imperial communication systems, allowing for seamless coordination between the Gladiator class and other ships in the fleet, as well as ground forces. The internal layout was optimized for maximum efficiency, ensuring that personnel, from crew members to commanders, could operate the ship with a high degree of coordination and speed in the heat of battle. The manufacturing of the Gladiator-class Star Destroyer was a massive industrial undertaking, with Kuat Drive Yards deploying its immense resources to produce the ships at an unprecedented scale. The production lines of Kuat's vast facilities were streamlined for maximum output, capable of constructing thousands of starships each year. The Gladiator class, while more intricate and specialized than some of Kuat's other products, was produced at a pace that ensured it could be deployed wherever it was needed. Roughly 34 million credits per ship, the Gladiator class was a cost-effective solution for the Empire's military needs. Kuat's industrial capabilities, combined with precision engineering, ensured that each Gladiator-class Star Destroyer was built to exacting specifications. The cost, while substantial, was justified by the Gladiator class's versatility. These ships became the backbone of Imperial operations, serving across countless sectors in roles as varied as blockades, starfighter support, planetary invasions, and sustained combat operations. Once complete, the Gladiator-class Star Destroyer underwent final testing, ensuring it met the stringent requirements of the Imperial Navy. Its weapon systems were rigorously tested in simulated battle environments, while its crew readiness was evaluated in real-world training exercises. Once it passed all the tests, the Gladiator class was deployed into active service, where it would soon become synonymous with the Empire's reach and unyielding control. Upon deployment, the Gladiator-class Star Destroyer quickly proved its worth as a strategic asset in the Imperial fleet. Its versatility allowed it to serve in virtually every aspect of military engagement, from system-wide pacification to direct planetary invasions. Whether it was used as a fleet support vessel, combat vessel, or a ground operations platform, the Gladiator class was unparalleled in its effectiveness. The sight of a Gladiator class arriving in system was a terrifying one, as its sheer presence often spelled the end of resistance. These vessels were often deployed in conjunction with the Imperial-class Star Destroyers, forming the backbone of the fleet in battles with the Rebel Alliance and other threats to Imperial rule. The Gladiator class's adaptability allowed it to meet the dynamic needs of the Empire, ensuring that it could be deployed anywhere at a moment's notice. More than just a military machine, the Gladiator class became a symbol of Imperial control, representing the Emperor's desire to dominate not only the galaxy's stars, but also the surface of every world within his grasp. It was a symbol of the Empire's technological supremacy, industrial capability, and unrelenting pursuit of order. Through the combined efforts of Walex Blissex, Rendili Star Drive, and Kuat Drive Yards, the Gladiator-class Star Destroyer became more than just a ship. It became an enduring representation of Imperial strength, power, and the Emperor's vision of a galaxy unified under the banner of the Empire. During the height of the Galactic Civil War, the Gladiator-1 Star Destroyer, Blood Ambition, stood as a beacon of Imperial might and precision under the experienced command of Captain Ralchio Nervi. This formidable warship was the centerpiece of a highly specialized Imperial naval task force, known for its speed, overwhelming firepower, and brutal efficiency. The task force was not merely a collection of ships, but a well-coordinated unit designed to strike fast, hard, and with devastating precision. At its core, the Blood Ambition worked in perfect unison with a fleet of highly skilled and battle-hardened support vessels, including 2 Raider I-class corvettes, the Sargantuan and the Warhawk, both of which had earned a fearsome reputation for their swarming tactics and deadly precision. The Raider-class corvettes, nimble and aggressive, flanked the Gladiator class with unmatched tactical cohesion. These ships, with their heavily armed turbolaser and concussion missile systems, were designed to provide rapid, pinpoint strikes against enemy forces, often overwhelming smaller rebel vessels or supporting the larger warship in battle. Their swarming tactics allowed them to operate in tandem with the Gladiator-class Star Destroyer, taking on multiple smaller targets while the Blood Ambition engaged larger, more formidable foes. In addition to these ships of war, the task force was bolstered by a powerful invasion force commanded by Lieutenant Colonel Erla Hovland, an officer known for his meticulous planning and quick execution. Leading 2 battalions of stormtroopers, Hovland's forces were ready to descend upon any hostile planet at a moment's notice. These battle-hardened soldiers, numbering over 1,000 in total, were specifically trained for the most demanding planetary engagements, equipped with the best ground vehicles, heavy weaponry, and specialized equipment. Their primary role was to deploy swiftly onto the surface of planets, neutralizing any rebel forces and enforcing the Emperor's will with extreme efficiency. Supporting the stormtroopers in their ground assaults were several TIE fighter squadrons, which provided air superiority and strategic support. The TIE fighters, known for their speed and maneuverability, were instrumental in establishing the task force's dominance in space and ensuring that enemy starfighters were quickly neutralized before the ground assault began. Their ability to screen the task force's movements and provide close air support during planetary invasions ensured that the Gladiator-class Star Destroyer and its accompanying vessels could operate without interference from rebel air forces. The task force's most significant engagement came during the Battle of Zorn, a brutal, all-out clash between Imperial forces and the Rebel Alliance that would prove to be the task force's final stand. As the battle unfolded, the Blood Ambition and its fleet found themselves facing overwhelming opposition. Rebel forces, including several capital ships and a significant number of starfighters, poured into the system with the intention of striking a blow against the Empire's dominance. Despite the might of the Gladiator-class Star Destroyer, the task force was unable to withstand the sheer ferocity of the Rebel assault. The battle, marked by intense ship-to-ship combat, dogfights between TIE fighters and Rebel interceptors, and heavy bombardments, quickly turned into a fight for survival. The Blood Ambition, despite its superior firepower and commanding presence, was ultimately overwhelmed. Rebel forces concentrated their firepower on the Blood Ambition, slowly wearing down its shields and hull as the ship attempted to maneuver in the chaotic melee. The ship's engines, crippled by successive hits, caused the vessel to falter, and in a final, explosive display of firepower, the Blood Ambition was destroyed. Its once unstoppable turbolasers fell silent, and its hangars, filled with TIE fighters and assault craft, were decimated in an instant. Captain Nervy's command came to an abrupt and tragic end, as did the lives of many of the brave soldiers and sailors who had served aboard the vessel. The destruction of the Blood Ambition was not only a physical loss, but a psychological blow to the Imperial fleet. Despite its overwhelming power, even the mightiest Imperial warships were vulnerable in the unforgiving theaters of galactic war. Yet, the Battle of Zorn did more than mark the end of a key Imperial warship. It became a testament to the sacrifice and tenacity that defined the Empire's efforts during the Galactic Civil War. The loss of the Blood Ambition would serve as a stark reminder of the costs of war, highlighting the fleeting nature of even the most powerful Imperial vessels in the face of the Rebel Alliance's resolve. The battle became a symbol not only of the Empire's devastating losses, but also of the relentless nature of the galactic conflict, where no victory was ever guaranteed, and the balance of power could shift in an instant. Though the task force's final stand ended in defeat, the courage and resolve shown by Captain Nervy, Lieutenant Colonel Hovland, and their forces would live on in Imperial lore, a reminder that the Empire's strength was built on the sacrifices of those who fought in its name. The Battle of Zorn and the destruction of the Blood Ambition would be remembered not just for the loss of a ship, but for the indomitable spirit that fueled the Empire's campaign across the galaxy until the last embers of war burned out. In 2 BBY, one of the Gladiator-class Star Destroyers was dispatched to Kamino, specifically tasked with guarding the highly classified and strategic Tamira City cloning facility. Kamino, a remote and storm-swept oceanic world on the fringe of the galaxy, was home to the Empire's crucial cloning operations, an endeavor essential to the production of the Empire's stormtrooper legions. The facility itself was a sprawling complex nestled on the storm-battered cliffs of Tamira City, with massive oceanic platforms designed to house the cloning vats and laboratories required to cultivate and sustain the endless production of genetically enhanced soldiers. It was a vital part of the Imperial war machine, supplying the troops needed to maintain order in the galaxy and fight the growing Rebel Alliance. The Gladiator-class Star Destroyer deployed to the Kamino system was not just a standard warship. Its turbo-laser batteries, ion cannons, missile launchers, and complement of TIE fighters gave it unparalleled firepower and made it a formidable deterrent against any would-be attackers. This particular vessel, a Gladiator-1 class, was stationed in high orbit over Tamira City, serving as a floating fortress above the critical facility. Its crew of over 1,000 officers, engineers, and gunners worked tirelessly to ensure that both the Star Destroyer and the cloning facility below were well defended from potential threats. The Gladiator-class Star Destroyer was a versatile ship, designed not only for ship-to-ship combat, but also to support ground operations with its TIE fighter complement, capable of rapid deployment to combat any planetary resistance. Given the strategic importance of the Tamira City cloning facility, this Star Destroyer acted as the first line of defense, a formidable threat in space and a tool for maintaining Imperial control. However, as the Rebel Alliance grew in strength and began to target the Empire's most critical assets, Kamino, with its cloned forces crucial to the Empire's military structure, became a prime target for the Rebels. The Rebel fleet, while still far from matching the power of the Imperial Navy, had become increasingly adept at hit-and-run tactics and guerrilla warfare. They had learned to strike swiftly, using their knowledge of Imperial weaknesses to target the most vulnerable systems. The Rebel attack on Kamino was not merely a raid, but a meticulously planned and coordinated assault, meant to disrupt the Empire's cloning operations and strike a symbolic blow against Imperial control. The attack was launched with a diverse fleet of Nebulon B frigates, Mon Calamari star cruisers, and a host of rebel starfighters and bombers. They took advantage of Kamino's remote location, using the cover of its dense storm clouds and turbulent atmosphere to approach unnoticed, exploiting the Gladiator class's limited sensor range and inability to easily navigate through such treacherous conditions. The initial skirmish occurred when the rebel fleet launched a surprise bombing raid, sending a wave of X-Wing and Y-Wing fighters toward the Gladiator-class Star Destroyer. The TIE fighters stationed aboard the ship scrambled to intercept the attackers, but the rebel pilots, well-trained and heavily coordinated, outmaneuvered the Imperial craft with precision, targeting key components of the Star Destroyer's shields and communication systems. The Gladiator class responded with its own barrage of turbo laser fire, lighting up the stormy skies above Tamira City. But it was quickly clear that the ship's limited capacity for close-range battle, particularly in the confined space of the atmosphere, would not suffice against the rebels' adaptability. As the battle raged in space, the rebels deployed their bombers in waves, targeting the Star Destroyer's vulnerable systems. Their tactics focused on disabling the Gladiator-class Star Destroyer's engines and communication relays to prevent it from coordinating effectively with other Imperial forces. Several bombers succeeded in breaching the Star Destroyer's shields, delivering devastating hits to the engine compartments and sensor arrays, rendering the Gladiator class partially crippled. The Star Destroyer's formidable weapons remained intact, but the ship's maneuverability was compromised, making it an easier target for the rebels. Meanwhile, the rebel fleet pressed its advantage by launching simultaneous attacks on the Tamira City cloning facility itself. Although the Gladiator-class Star Destroyer attempted to deploy its TIE fighters to suppress the rebel ground assault, the cloning facility was quickly overwhelmed by rebel special forces, infiltrating the facility with the goal of sabotaging the cloning vats and research data. Several squads of rebel infiltrators infiltrated the facility, causing significant damage to the cloning chambers and data terminals, though they did not manage to destroy the entire facility. With Kamino's atmosphere swirling in chaos, the battle reached a critical turning point when the Gladiator-class Star Destroyer, heavily damaged and unable to defend itself effectively, found itself surrounded by multiple rebel capital ships. A well-coordinated strike from the rebel bombers finally breached the Star Destroyer's hull, triggering a catastrophic series of explosions in the aft sections. Gladiator-class Star Destroyers, despite their imposing size and impressive weaponry, were not invulnerable, and this battle served as a testament to the Empire's vulnerability, even in the face of overwhelming force. By the time the rebel fleet withdrew, the Gladiator-class Star Destroyer was left a charred hulk in the atmosphere of Kamino, its crew lost or captured in the chaos. The Tamira City cloning facility was heavily damaged, but not completely destroyed, and though the Empire managed to retain control of the facility for a time, the rebel victory at Kamino was symbolic, marking a significant setback in the Empire's ability to maintain its cloning operations. This engagement represented not just a victory for the Rebel Alliance, but also an example of the Empire's overconfidence and reliance on its heavy warships to maintain control. While the Gladiator-class Star Destroyer had been designed to project Imperial power, this battle demonstrated the limitations of even the mightiest of the Empire's ships when faced with a determined and tactical foe. Kamino, for the first time in years, had been shown to be vulnerable to attack, and the Empire would never again underestimate the ingenuity of the rebel forces. The Demolisher, a Gladiator-class Star Destroyer, was originally commissioned as one of the Empire's most potent warships, a paragon of Imperial engineering and military might. Its sheer presence in space was a declaration of the Empire's dominance. With a powerful array of turbo lasers, ion cannon, and a suite of TIE fighter squadrons for support, the Demolisher was a vessel designed to impose the Emperor's will across the galaxy with precision and overwhelming firepower. Its commander, Admiral Terranald Screed, was an expert tactician whose strategic genius had earned him recognition within the Imperial fleet. His command of the Demolisher was seen as a symbol of his reputation, as he utilized the vessel to carry out several high-profile missions, enforcing Imperial control across the galaxy's outer rim territories. The Demolisher was designed not only for fleet engagements, but also for rapid response to threats, able to function both as a frontline warship and a more agile strike force when needed. It had a distinctive appearance among Gladiator-class Star Destroyers, its long, angular hull housing advanced weapons systems, and an extensive hangar for TIE fighters and other small craft, including TIE bombers and TIE interceptors. The ship's complement was structured for swift deployment, with highly trained crew members ready to engage enemies with precision. Its firepower could lay waste to entire rebel fleets, while its maneuverability allowed it to perform surgical strikes on enemy installations. In BBY-15, however, the Demolisher's journey would take a dramatic turn. The ship was stationed at an Imperial repair dock for routine maintenance and upgrades, undergoing minor repairs after a recent engagement with rebel forces. It was here, within the confines of the Imperial dockyards, that Gear Kibo Rencha, a notorious pirate leader with a reputation for cunning, resourcefulness, and ruthlessness, saw an opportunity for plunder. Rencha, long a thorn in the Empire's side, had managed to acquire a small fleet of modified light ships and starfighters. But his true ambition was always to get his hands on a capital ship, one that could turn the tides in his favor and elevate his status among the criminal underworld. The Demolisher, a sleek and heavily armed vessel, was the prize he had been waiting for. Rencha, ever the opportunist, masterminded a complex plan to infiltrate the heavily guarded repair dock. Utilizing his network of informants within the Empire, he learned of the Demolisher's repair schedule and the temporary vulnerability of the ship. In the dead of night, under the cover of a darkened moon, Rencha's pirates launched a daring assault on the station, breaching its security systems with surprising efficiency. They infiltrated the dockyards with a mixture of stealth and overwhelming firepower, neutralizing the guards before making their way directly to the Demolisher. Their plan was bold: to seize control of the ship, disable its communications, and escape before the Empire could mount a significant response. Rencha's forces, consisting of a mix of pirate mercenaries, smuggler crews, and seasoned saboteurs, overran the station's security personnel with brutal efficiency. While they lacked the formal training of Imperial soldiers, the pirates made up for it with their resourcefulness, utilizing EMP pulses and hacking devices to disable key ship systems, ensuring that the Demolisher's crew had little chance of mounting a successful defense. The pirates seized the command bridge and navigational systems, taking control of the vessel within mere hours. With the ship under their command, Rencha intended to use the Demolisher to raid the planet Tammuz-An, a world rich in minerals and valuable resources, for the wealth it could bring. Once in control of the Demolisher, Rencha and his pirates began their preparations for a high-stakes heist. The pirates quickly configured the ship for a long-range operation, reprogramming the Demolisher's navigational systems to set a course for Tammuzan. The crew of pirates, while skilled in various forms of piracy, were far from the seasoned Imperial soldiers accustomed to the discipline of Imperial warships. The transition from Imperial command to pirate rule marked a significant shift in the ship's operation, with Rencha's crew modifying key aspects of the ship to suit their looting needs. They cleared out the hangar bays of Imperial TIE fighters and replaced them with modified starfighters that could be deployed for planetary assault or to harass planetary defenses. In the meantime, Rencha sent word to his associates in the underworld, preparing to sell the plundered riches of Tammuz-An. Tammuz-An was a fertile and heavily mined world, a perfect target for the pirate leader. The planet was rich in precious metals and other resources vital to the Empire's war machine. Rencha, undeterred by the risks of attacking an Imperial world, hoped to extract the planet's wealth before the Empire could mobilize a proper defense. His plan was to disable the planetary defense systems and deploy his piratical forces with overwhelming speed, taking what he could carry and escaping before Imperial reinforcements could arrive. However, Rencha underestimated the swiftness of the Imperial response. As soon as the Demolisher's absence was noticed, a response fleet was dispatched from the Imperial Sector Fleet, including several Imperial-class Star Destroyers and a squadron of TIE fighters. The Demolisher, while a powerful vessel in its own right, was still an asset of the Empire, and the loss of such an important ship would not be tolerated. The Imperial response was swift, though Rencha had already begun his descent into the atmosphere of Tammuz-An. The Battle of Tammuz-An began with a violent space skirmish between Rencha's pirates and the approaching Imperial forces. Admiral Screed, informed of the situation, personally oversaw the mission to recover the stolen Demolisher, with the goal of preventing further damage to Imperial interests. The Demolisher, under Rencha's command, launched a series of turbo-laser barrages against the planet's surface and planetary defenses. The pirates deployed several of their modified TIE fighters to harass the planetary garrisons and intimidate the local population. But despite their initial success, Rencha and his crew were not prepared for the relentless efficiency of the Imperial fleet. Within hours, the Demolisher was surrounded by a full Imperial task force, including TIE fighters, Star Destroyers, and frigates, all intent on reclaiming the ship. Despite the Demolisher's firepower, the pirates were no match for the highly organized Imperial forces. A series of boardings were launched, and after a series of intense clashes aboard the Demolisher, the Imperial Navy regained control of the ship. Rencha's forces were routed, and the Demolisher was successfully disabled, though the pirates' brief control of the vessel had left its mark. The Demolisher, now heavily damaged, was towed back to the nearest Imperial shipyards for repairs. Though Rencha and his crew were captured, they managed to evade execution through diplomatic negotiations with Imperial authorities, but the Demolisher was left scarred by its brief and tumultuous time in the hands of criminals. For Admiral Screed, the return of the Demolisher was a bitter reminder of the vulnerabilities of even the most powerful Imperial ships. In the turbulent years following the Battle of Endor, as the Galactic Empire fractured under the weight of its catastrophic defeat, the Gladiator-class Star Destroyer emerged as a pivotal asset in a galaxy descending into chaos. Once a cornerstone of the Empire's naval superiority, designed to enforce the Emperor's will across the Outer Rim, these versatile warships found themselves at the center of desperate battles, opportunistic power struggles, and unexpected alliances. Amid the post-Endor period, defined by shifting loyalties, the rise of warlordism, and the relentless expansion of the New Republic, the Gladiator class became both a lifeline for Imperial remnants and a prize for those seeking to capitalize on the Empire's fall. As the Galactic Empire disintegrated, warlords rose from the ashes, seizing fragments of Imperial territory to forge their own personal fiefdoms. Without the logistical juggernaut of a unified empire to sustain its more massive ships, such as the Imperial-class Star Destroyers, warlords turned to the more practical Gladiator class as the backbone of their forces. Compact, deadly, and efficient, the Gladiator class was the ideal warship for a post-Endor galaxy where resources were scarce, and every fleet needed to be highly mobile. Leaders such as Moff Deltran, Admiral Harsk, and Warlord Ginge utilized Gladiators as command ships for small but aggressive flotillas. Their medium turbo lasers, proton torpedo launchers, and versatile fighter bays allowed them to punch far above their weight, excelling in hit-and-run operations, planetary raids, and the suppression of rebellious systems. One such example was Harsk's Iron Vengeance Squadron, a fleet comprised of 3 Gladiator-class Star Destroyers. Without the overwhelming firepower of the full Imperial Navy, Harsk adopted guerrilla-style tactics, ambushing New Republic convoys, looting Outer Rim supply depots, and maintaining control over a handful of systems through sheer intimidation. The Gladiators, agile and deadly, proved perfect for these operations. They could arrive suddenly, unleash devastating bombardments with their turbo lasers and proton torpedoes, deploy squadrons of TIE fighters, and withdraw before the New Republic could mount an effective response. For other warlords, the Gladiator class became symbols of their dwindling power. Moff Deltran, who controlled the fragmented Dorsis sector, relied heavily on his flagship, the Resolute Strike, a Gladiator-class Star Destroyer modified to carry additional ground forces for rapid planetary assaults. With his sector plagued by rebellious systems emboldened by the Empire's collapse, Deltran used the Resolute Strike as both a symbol of terror and a tool of coercion. Planets were offered a grim choice: compliance or bombardment. While warlords fractured the Empire into competing factions, other commanders clung desperately to the vision of a restored and unified empire. For these loyalist remnants, still operating under the banner of the Imperial Council or their own vision of Imperial resurgence, the Gladiator-class Star Destroyer played a critical role in holding the line against the advancing New Republic Navy. The battles of Ord Falara and Gargan showcased the Gladiator class's adaptability in defensive operations. At Ord Falara, an Imperial loyalist fleet under Admiral Lysander Torvix used a pair of Gladiator-class Star Destroyers, the Iron Tide and the Pinnacle Spear, to delay the New Republic's advance. While outnumbered and outgunned, the Gladiators deployed waves of TIE bombers to harass the New Republic fleet and targeted supply ships with precision proton torpedo strikes. Their ability to operate independently while coordinating fighter wings made them invaluable in delaying actions that bought time for Torvix's flagship, an Imperial II-class Star Destroyer, to escape. At Gargan, the Imperial Talon, another Gladiator class, became a linchpin of planetary defense. Operating alongside local ground garrisons, the ship provided orbital bombardment support and acted as a mobile command post, holding off the Republic's forces long enough to evacuate critical resources to another Loyalist stronghold. These engagements, though minor compared to the larger fleet battles of the Galactic Civil War, underscored the Gladiator class's value as a tactical asset in a galaxy where every ship counted. The New Republic, ever pragmatic in its efforts to consolidate power, quickly recognized the strategic value of the Gladiator-class Star Destroyer. Unlike their larger counterparts, Gladiators were easier to capture, maintain, and integrate into the growing Republic fleet. Though they bore the stigma of Imperial oppression, their smaller size and flexibility made them ideal for the Republic's needs, particularly in the resource-scarce Outer Rim territories, where pockets of Imperial resistance persisted. Captured Gladiators were swiftly retooled for New Republic operations. Their hangar bays, once home to TIE fighters, were modified to launch squadrons of X-Wings, Y-Wings, and other New Republic starfighters. These ships were repurposed for system patrols, fast response missions, and defensive operations in liberated sectors. The Liberator's Flame, formerly the Retribution's Hand, became a key vessel in the Ariadu Sector Defense Fleet, where it coordinated relief efforts to war-torn planets while fending off raids from Imperial warlords. One of the most iconic examples of this reclamation was the Battle of Montrose. A damaged Gladiator-class Star Destroyer, once belonging to the infamous warlord Kael Oven, was captured by a New Republic task force led by Commodore Gina Voss. Renamed the Hope's Vanguard, the ship was repaired and became a command vessel in the Outer Rim Liberation Campaign. Under Commodore Voss's leadership, the Hope's Vanguard spearheaded multiple operations, including the liberation of Galera 4, where its combination of starfighter support and pinpoint bombardment broke a months-long Imperial siege. The Gladiator-class Star Destroyer came to represent the shifting tides of the post-Endor galaxy. For the Imperial remnants, it symbolized adaptability and survival. Where once it served as an instrument of overwhelming power, it now became a lifeline for warlords clinging to scraps of territory and commanders fighting to restore the Empire. For the New Republic, the Gladiator class carried a different symbolism. Ships that had once been used to enforce the Emperor's tyranny were now tools of freedom and liberation. Reclaimed Gladiators not only provided firepower, but also acted as beacons of hope, delivering relief supplies, evacuating refugees, and coordinating planetary defenses against Imperial holdouts. The irony of turning these instruments of oppression into tools of salvation was not lost on New Republic commanders or citizens alike. By the time the galaxy moved beyond the chaotic post-Endor era and into the era of emerging powers, the Gladiator-class Star Destroyer had forged a unique and enduring legacy. It was no longer just a weapon of the Galactic Empire, but a symbol of resilience, adaptability, and the fluid nature of galactic conflict. For the warlords, it was a means of asserting control in a fractured galaxy. For Imperial loyalists, it was a reminder of the might they had once wielded and the desperate fight to reclaim it. And for the New Republic, it became proof that even the tools of tyranny could be repurposed in the service of freedom. The Gladiator-class Star Destroyer, agile, versatile, and enduring, remained etched in the history of the post-Endor period as a warship that outlasted its creators, adapted to new masters, and carved a legacy that reflected the chaos, ambition, and hope of a galaxy reborn. As whispers of Emperor Palpatine's unnatural return began to spread like a shadow across the galaxy, the Gladiator-class Star Destroyer found itself once again drawn into the maelstrom of galactic war. In the dark resurgence of the Final Order, where fragmented Imperial factions rallied to the reborn Emperor's call, the Gladiator class proved to be both a symbol of lingering Imperial might and a tool of renewed terror. No longer just relics of a bygone era, these ships, survivors of the post-Endor chaos, were pulled back into service, refurbished, and repurposed to meet the demands of the Emperor's vision of total domination. For the resurgent Empire, the Gladiator class was a bridge between the past and the future, a harbinger of a return to the Empire's ideals of overwhelming control. Shipyards like Quat and hidden strongholds in the unknown regions were tasked with upgrading surviving gladiators, outfitting them with more advanced deflector shields, targeting systems, and incorporating enhanced weaponry derived from research conducted under the Final Order's engineers. The result was a fleet of Gladiator-class Star Destroyers, still small and agile, but now more lethal than ever, capable of engaging the burgeoning New Republic defense fleet on equal terms. Where the Imperial-class Star Destroyers served as sledgehammers, the Gladiator class became the Empire's scalpel, perfectly suited for swift strikes, planetary subjugation, and suppression of rebellious systems. In the Emperor's strategy, these ships acted as vanguard elements, often leading task forces to secure outer rim worlds with calculated ruthlessness. The Battle of Polnara became a notorious example. A task force of Gladiator-class Star Destroyers descended on the undefended planet, deploying precision strikes and stormtrooper battalions to quell resistance before reinforcements could arrive. In Palpatine's renewed empire, the Gladiators were not ships of war alone. They were tools of psychological warfare, spreading fear with their symbolic Imperial silhouette and devastating firepower. Yet the Gladiator class was also indispensable for its adaptability. With the Final Order's operations requiring stealth and speed, Gladiators frequently served as mobile command ships for elite strike teams and Sith-aligned agents. Their hangars bristled with TIE fighters and Sith Trooper dropships, ensuring planetary invasions could unfold with surgical precision. They were the hammer that preceded the arrival of the Final Order's larger Star Destroyers, establishing forward control zones and decimating local defenses before the full force of the Emperor's military descended. The Battle of Anaxes saw Gladiator-class Star Destroyers in a critical role as Harriers, cutting off New Republic supply lines and isolating core fleets from critical allies. Their speed and versatility ensured that even as New Republic forces adapted, the Gladiators remained a deadly thorn in their side. It was a cruel irony for many New Republic commanders. A ship long thought a relic of history had returned with a vengeance, its silhouette a chilling reminder that the Empire could never truly die. As the galaxy reeled under the Yuuzhan Vong invasion, an existential threat unlike any before, the Gladiator-class Star Destroyer once again proved its worth. The war against the Yuuzhan Vong was a war of attrition and chaos, a battle where adaptability, endurance, and strategic versatility became more valuable than raw firepower. In this apocalyptic conflict, the Gladiator class transcended its origins as an Imperial vessel and became a symbol of galactic unity, serving in both the fractured remnants of the Empire and the Galactic Alliance, which rose to meet the alien threat. The Yuuzhan Vong, with their biological technology and living warships impervious to conventional sensors, posed a challenge unlike any the galaxy had faced. Gladiator-class Star Destroyers, with their size, speed, and heavy armament, were quickly redeployed to confront this enemy. As larger ships such as Imperial and Mon Calamari-class vessels struggled against the Vong's overwhelming firepower and swarming tactics, the Gladiator class became a tactical counterweight, deployed in fast-moving battle groups to harass and isolate Vong forces. In the early stages of the war, Gladiator-class ships fought desperate defensive battles. At Fondor, a trio of gladiators led by the Blade of Vengeance delayed a Yuuzhan Vong assault long enough for critical shipyards to evacuate valuable resources and personnel. Their rapid salvos of proton torpedoes and concussion missiles, launched with unerring precision, were devastating against Vong corral skippers and lighter warships, while their point defense laser cannons proved instrumental in intercepting swarms of Grutchen, the Vong's living equivalents of starfighters. As the war ground on, the Gladiator class was further modified for the unique demands of fighting the Vong. With traditional sensors failing against the enemy's cloaked technology, engineers equipped Gladiators with enhanced sensor arrays that used gravitational and mass detection systems to pinpoint enemy ships. Their solar ionization reactors provided the energy output needed for extended operations, enabling Gladiators to operate deep behind enemy lines, conducting daring raids against Yuuzhan Vong supply chains and staging areas. Perhaps their most iconic role in the conflict came during the Battle of Ithor, where a fleet of gladiators joined forces with New Republic and Imperial remnant ships to form a rapid response task force. Their smaller size and speed allowed them to weave through the chaotic battlefield, launching relentless missile volleys at vulnerable points in Yuuzhan Vong capital ships. In one engagement, The Vindicator crippled a Meade-Roic warship, delivering a precision torpedo strike that shattered its living armor and sent it plummeting into the atmosphere below. By the war's final stages, Gladiator-class Star Destroyers symbolized a galaxy learning to fight as one. No longer tools of Imperial oppression, these ships stood as battle-hardened survivors, vessels of necessity and courage that adapted to face an enemy beyond imagination. In the Galactic Alliance, Gladiators were respected for their role in the war effort, having proven that even amid the ashes of the Empire, ships designed for domination could find purpose in the defense of life itself. Whether in the hands of Imperial remnants, reformed under Grand Admiral Pelion, or alongside New Republic fleets, the Gladiator-class Star Destroyer was a bridge between eras, a vessel that carried the weight of history yet adapted to fight for the galaxy's future. In the war against the Yuuzhan Vong, they were not instruments of tyranny, but ships of survival and resistance, a final line of defense against annihilation. Their legacy was no longer defined solely by war. It was defined by resilience, adaptation, and an enduring spirit that refused to be broken.